Hello and welcome to Red Wolf Roundtable. I'm Jacob Cater. This is Kate Marsh, and we are here to talk to you about some Red Wolf sports that happened this week. A big week for the Red Wolves, full of some really big wins for just about every team. Soccer went out on a high note. Volleyball got a big sweep of Louisiana at home this week. And of course, the big road win against Troy for the A-State Red Wolf football team. And we're going to talk about how important the next game is coming up. So stay around here on Red Wolf Roundtable. We'll be right back.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. As we will get right into it, huge road win against Troy for the Red Wolves this weekend. A much-needed road win. Made a big statement that we can, in fact, win on the road. A-State 23, Troy 10. Defense was phenomenal. 9 sacks, second most in a game in A-State history. Here is the review for this. You see our passing yards was phenomenal. Only held Troy to 187 yards total this week.
Yeah, that's something to point out, that's for sure, because I believe the last time we did something like that was it 2013 against Memphis? And then for conference play, it was when FIU was still in the Sun Belt.
That's been a little bit.
I believe that was 2006. So it's been a minute since a defense like this has shown something of this caliber, and to say the least, this was an amazing defensive game. We had, like you said, 9 sacks. I believe was the second most for
second most in a game in A-State history.
And then also most for a game in NCAA just throughout this whole season, I believe. I could be wrong about that. But some of those players, Cody Sigler, Brian Whitehead, DeMarcus Hendricks,
quarterback chasers, what you called quarterback chasers earlier, including Mr. DeMarcus Hendricks, who was Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Week. We see it right here. Hendricks led the way with 2 sacks, 7 tackles, on his way to a Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Week performance. Ethan Hassler, 1.5 sacks. Cody Sigler and Brian Whitehead. Our defensive line getting it done this week.
Yeah, this is, we haven't seen a lot of this, and there was a lot of names that we didn't put on this list, like some linebackers like Aaron Alexander and Nigel Nelson also had half a sack and a sack. I believe Drew Collins had a half a sack. And for all I know, we're missing somebody. But truth be told, this defensive line was monstrous, and it started with Ethan Hassler and DeMarcus Hendricks coming off those edges. I can't stress enough how well this defensive line played, and it was exuberating. It was exuberating, if I'm using that word correctly, with how well they played. And I hope moving forward that continues. We saw no run game from Troy. We saw Tucker Kilcrease, who's been killing it ever since taking over for Goose Crowder. He struggled big time. And let's put some emphasis on those defensive backs. Trent Allen-Yao, he played amazing. Joe Drew, a freshman, he came in for Trent Allen-Yao, who got hurt. And to say the least, Joe Drew was phenomenal. That man was aggressive. I loved how he blew up the screen passes. He just, there was nobody that could block that guy. and he was right in the backfield getting multiple tackles for a loss for this Arkansas State defense.
Absolutely, and we love to see it, especially how after our defenses seemed to struggle a little bit this week, this was the most complete performance by our defense all season.
Oh,
and
by far.
In a long time, I think in recent memory, even including some of last season. This defense just looked phenomenal, and that's going to be a big factor in this week's game, and we'll get to that in a minute. Want to point out some of our offensive stats. Jalen Rayner, 21 for 29 with 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hunter Summers, 4 receptions and 70 yards with a touchdown. And Clune Van Andel, who was Sun Belt Special Teams Player of the Week, 3 for 4 with a 53-yard kick.
Yep, he continues to do what Clune does, and I want to go back and circle back to that offense a little bit. Although we had beat out Troy in every offensive category, it was still a struggle, I would say, especially after that 17-point lead that we gained. We only scored 6 points after that, and I believe that was like second, third, fourth quarter. So there wasn't a whole lot of offense, and it causes for concern because there's a lot of plays that they had where it started behind the line of scrimmage, and obviously it's good every now and then, but they do it quite often, and a lot of questions when that happens, and you're going backwards constantly.
Consistency has been a big deal for this A-State Red Wolf offense all season. It's either we play good in the first half and we don't play well in the second half, or we play terrible in the first half and then we play really well in the second half, and that's how we pull out our wins. A-State offense has not been as consistent as it needs to be, and that's going to also be a very important, especially in next week's game, which we will get to in a moment. Come right back after this break so we can talk about some soccer and some volleyball, who also got very big wins this week here in Jonesboro. Stay tuned here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
ASU-TV, covering all your favorite sports. From Red Wolf Roundtable to West Side football and more, ASU-TV has you covered. Tune in now to ASU-TV for news and coverage on these sports and more.
Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
Welcome back, as we are ready to talk about some soccer and some volleyball here on Red Wolf Roundtable. Soccer, a big win to finish off the season for them, ending it on a high note. Arkansas State 1, Coastal Carolina 0. This game was played at Valley View High School here in Jonesboro. Your thoughts?
Because all the weather.
Yeah.
All the weather rained us out, so moved to Valley View. But overall, it was a good way to end off, like you said. This lets the seniors go off on a high note. Overall, I think the season was better than the previous year. We saw a lot of things that maybe we didn't, especially offensively. That kind of took a step back as the year went on. But overall, I think the season was a success for the fact that it got better and we're trending in the right direction. We saw a lot of new talent that maybe we haven't seen before, and some of that old talent keep showing where they can play very highly, especially DeMars DeShane and Keelan Peacock, the one who got the goal that game.
Exactly. Keelan Peacock led the team in scoring in the 1-0 shutout. I want to point out the defense. Once again, we've talked about them continuously throughout the year. Defense stepped up and did a very good job this game, holding Coastal to 0 goals. Moving on to volleyball, a sweep versus the Raging Cajuns at home. Game 1, A-State 3, Louisiana 0, and then Game 2, A-State 3, Louisiana 1. We see some of the stats here. 35 kills for the Raging Cajuns, 43 for A-State. Just outpaced them in pretty much every single statistic. A-State did phenomenal in this game, playing defense and offense efficiently.
Yeah, Game 1, Arkansas State, without a doubt, just threw Louisiana around. And Louisiana isn't a team to like scuff off. I believe that entering this game, they were 12-4, maybe not the best conference record, but overall they're a good volleyball team. That first game, they struggled pretty immensely, being late to blocks. They had a lot of errors, a lot of serving errors, and Arkansas State took advantage of that, doing the things that they usually do. Game 2, though, Arkansas State kind of took a step back and Louisiana took a step forward. We saw the blocking be a lot better. Offense for Louisiana, they game planned very well compared to that first game. They were cutting things inside, getting those deep shots, limiting some errors, not as much as game 1, that's for sure. But overall, this is a great 2 wins for Arkansas State because it shows that even when Arkansas State has struggles at like the serving line, defensively, and maybe some offensive, like losing the efficiency standards, that Arkansas State can just blow teams out of the water. And that's exactly what they did. So it's a great 2 wins for Arkansas State before they travel. And yeah, we saw a great showing.
I like the, kind of like you pointed out, the overpowering of our offense on other teams. We seem to do that a lot, especially with Whitlock and Dadriana Kale, 2 key pieces of this offense. But I do want to highlight one player who did phenomenal in Game 2 versus the Raging Cajuns. That is Miss Mia Maloney. 2 aces and 18 digs. Mia Maloney having a phenomenal game, especially on defense. 2 assists and insane defense for sure, as we have it here. Miss Mia Maloney did phenomenal this weekend.
Yeah, we don't really highlight our libero, if I'm saying that correctly, much, and that's maybe because she doesn't stand out on the stat sheet offensively, and Dadriana Kale, Caitlin Whitlock, Devin Lewis, and all those others, they do that. But Mia Maloney, we haven't spotlighted at all this year, and to see some of the defensive plays that she made, especially in Game 2 for Arkansas State, it made those rallies extend a lot longer than they should have, because a lot of pancake digs, as they like to say in volleyball, for Mia, and some of the way she was assisting and putting passes on the dot for our setters was truly unreal, and I would love to highlight Mia Maloney because of how well she played for us this week.
Absolutely. 4 more games left in Sun Belt Conference play as the A-State stands at 16-7 on their overall record and 9-3 in conference play. So we will see how the rest of the season unfolds for them, and we'll talk about them a little bit more here on the show later. We'll take a break and be right back to review some basketball, and I'm excited about that. Stay here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
Welcome back here on Red Wolf Roundtable as we get to review some basketball. And I know I've been waiting for this for a long time. Women's basketball, opening loss at home versus Ball State. 68-66, the final score to that one. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm highly disappointed in the way we performed. It's not like Ball State is a slack of a team. This team was also in March Madness last year. So
they won the MAC last year, yeah.
So this is a really great team. So to start off with this and be close, it is in a win in a sense. But the way Arkansas State played, they were very low on their three-point percentage, I believe shooting 4 for 24. Overall converting on just regular shots was pretty low. The rebounding, we got out-rebounded, especially on the defensive front when we were on offense, quite a bit, I think 45-25. And yeah, Ball State kind of just proved that they wanted it more, I guess, in a sense. They shot a lot better, efficiently, defense, just a little bit better. But here's the thing is we saw a lot of the things that we see last year in our defensive front. This team's really aggressive, just like last year. And they created, I believe, 30 turnovers? It was a lot. So that's great to see. Some of the players that I love to watch was Mia Tarver. She looked excellent. That's one of our transfers from this past year. And then some of the other players like Crystal Rose doing it on offense, per usual. But yeah, we didn't look too great. I still think there's a lot of positives going forward, but yeah, it was a disappointment. But that being said, it was still a good game.
And again, it is the first game of the season. It was a close game. Being the first game of the season, you know, there's always things you can improve upon, always things you can improve upon, of course, throughout the season. But like you said, the defense was a little iffy. Offense did not look up to the standards as it was last year. Crystal Rose is one player that we want to point out right now. She had 20 points, 2 rebounds, 50% field goal range, and 67% on her free throws. Crystal Rose getting it done on offense for Arkansas State, as you already said, and she will be one to watch going into Sun Belt play in a few weeks. Of course, she did make first team All Sun Belt this year.
Absolutely deserved.
Absolutely deserved, absolutely. And
one of the things is we don't have a lot of height.
right.
And we had that last year with Anna Griffin and Nissengrant. And we do have one, he's Cox, but with how they rotate, which I love how they rotate, it proves to be a slight disadvantage for us.
And that's one thing that we saw in the scrimmage a few weeks ago against Henderson State, was that the lack of height and the lack of ability to get above and get the boards was kind of a defeating point. Even though A-State didn't lose that game, but they narrowly escaped 71-69, that was a pretty crucial part of why that game was so close.
And it proved to be the same way against Ball State. Ball State had some pretty tall centers, and they had 2 of them to be exact. And when you can rotate people that have height and have another one rest up, and we don't, that's going to present problems going on later in the season. Granted, I think that can be fixed because, like you said, it's the first game, so there's a lot of things that they need to work out. This is still a pretty new team.
Right.
And
we know Coach Rogers will make some adjustments as the
Absolutely.
season goes, as she usually does. It's what phenomenal coaches do. Moving on to men's basketball, an opening win at Ohio. The first time the A-State Red Wolves have gotten an opening road win since 2013. They beat Ohio 85-89. Joey Chama leading the way, as well as Chandler Jackson. Both had 21 points in this game. Offense was clicking, especially in the second half of this ballgame.
Yeah, emphasis on second half. It was slow in the first half, but this guard duo is beautiful. Chandler Jackson and Joey Chama, like you said, both with 20 points. And to say the least, they complement each other quite well. Joey Chama from 3-point. This guy can shoot. We see a lot of Joseph Pinion in him. That's the one person I would compare him to. And Chandler Jackson doing what I would say, in a sense, what Terrence Ford did. He made a lot of playmaking, but he can still shoot the ball. He proved to be the case. But there were still some concerns, I would like to say, with this team. I think we run a 2-3 zone, and it showed on the wings when Ohio would play on offense that it could get messy, and in the paint as well. We had a 7'3", and we have Joey Chama.
Yes, that was one of the things I was going to point out that we talked about before the show. We're running a 2-3 zone, which can be very effective if used right. But if you have a guy who's 6'3", 6'4", in the middle, then he is going to get absolutely demolished when it comes to getting rebounds. So that is something that is definitely will need to be adjusted. Glad that A-State could come away with a win here in this opening game of the season.
It's exciting.
It is.
Really
It is.
exciting.
It has a lot of hope for this season, and we will look forward to what else is to come when we come back here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
ASU-TV, covering all your favorite sports. From Red Wolf Roundtable to West Side football and more, ASU-TV has you covered. Tune in now to ASU-TV for news and coverage on these sports and more.
Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable, as we will talk about what's to come for the volleyball team. Women's volleyball team takes on South Alabama.
At South Al.
At South Al this week on Friday and Saturday, with 4 more games left until the Sun Belt tournament. So season is winding down. This is crunch time for these Red Wolves.
This is huge for seeding, especially for us when we are, I believe, second in the West. So these games are going to matter the most.
Pretty evenly matched here against the Jaguars and the Red Wolves. Kills per set, aces per set, blocks, and attack percentage all look pretty even here for both of these teams. Of course, South Alabama also atop the West, along with A-State. So this will be a pretty crucial matchup for these two teams.
One of the things that we haven't really seen when we compare all these teams is the blocks. South Al does that. So this is going to be a real testament to our offense when it comes to this game because, well, we haven't had a defense play as well as this. So, and South Al is really good, like you said. They're top of the West, and for us, when we kind of struggled a little bit against Louisiana, and cleaning up those things like the middle of that part of the defense, and then maybe some of the serving parts for our defense. We kind of struggled with that against Louisiana, and they might take advantage of that. So looking forward to that middle of the defense getting fixed up. This is still a powerhouse team. I don't see how we can't beat this.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this game just because this is a big game. This is a big game for the Lady Red Wolves, and if they win this game, then their seeding in the Sun Belt tournament will be much better than it will if they lose. So looking forward to that one. Current record for these Lady Red Wolves, 16-7, and they sit at 9-3 in conference play, looking to improve upon that. Moving on to basketball. We've got some basketball action coming up this week. 2 games for the women's, 2 games for the men. Women's play at Charleston State on Friday, and then they go to Mizzou to play an SEC matchup on Tuesday. Looking forward to these games. Like you said earlier, defense needs to improve a little bit, but our offense, our shooting, is really where we think the holes are at.
Yeah, I think they can improve basically everywhere, but that being said, they still played really well. I think if they improve those certain areas, it's going to be really hard to beat this team. And Mizzou, they struggle. I think they can overcome that. And then, like you said, was it Tarleton State, if I'm correct? Yeah, I believe we can go into it 2-1, coming back to the bank. And as long as we can clean up some of those issues early on, I'm not really worried to get those pre-game or early game jitters out and set us up for the rest of the season. I think we're perfectly fine.
Men's basketball plays Friday at Stephen F. Austin down in Nacogdoches, Texas, and Tuesday against Missouri State.
Yep. Once again, I don't see where we don't come back 3-0 to the bank. And the way they played, offensively, picked up later in the second half. But some of those things like that we talked about, maybe some more chemistry on the front of this team because there's a lot of that missing. I feel like there was a lot of miscommunications when it came to our defense and just keeping that high percentage on offense. As long as that stays standard, I don't see how we don't come back 3-0 to the bank.
Absolutely. All right, we'll take a break and we'll be right back to preview our big old football game we have this week against Southern Mississippi. Stay right here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
Welcome back here on Red Wolf Roundtable as we preview a home game versus Southern Mississippi this week. It's at 11 o'clock, and it's
early
on
one.
ESPNU.
Oh, yeah. I'll disregard the ESPNU part, but yeah, Arkansas State playing the #1 team in the West, and in my opinion, the #1 team in the Sun Belt, Southern Miss. They have been on a tear this year, and it has finally come where we have to play them.
Yep.
And this is going to be a huge game for us because, well, you're seeing the numbers. They're really good. They are very, very, very,
on both
very,
sides
very
of the
good.
ball, really
Yep.
good. Yeah.
So the interception numbers for Southern Miss's defense, I believe they still lead the nation. I could be wrong, but they did lead the nation in interceptions last year. The offense, they're led by the reigning Sun Belt Player of the Year, Braylon Braxton, and that will probably stay the same this year as well. And yeah, Arkansas State's going to have a real tough time this week as long as they can show the defense that they showed last week. This might be a whole different talk.
Yeah, yeah. And this game could decide who sits top the Sun Belt West come the end of the season. And that's a very big thing. Southern Miss sits up there right now. Arkansas State and Troy are tied for second. So whoever wins this game, here you see the standings, whoever wins this game could win the Sun Belt West.
Yeah, so for Arkansas State's sake, we are playing Southern Miss. We just beat Troy. And then we play Louisiana right after Southern Miss. So these standings are going to change a lot, possibly. And then Southern Miss and Troy, they play each other the last game of their year. So there is a real shot. Arkansas State shoots up to #1, and they play in the conference championship. Granted, they do have to play Southern Miss like we're talking about. And Southern Miss is no slack, as we said.
If our defense plays anything like it did last week, I think this will be a very good ball game.
Very good.
Be sure to come out here to the Vault on Saturday at 11 o'clock, where we will
Early game.
take on Southern Mississippi. Thank you for watching Red Wolf Roundtable. Jacob Cater, Kate Marsh saying, have a great day.